Keep listening, keep learning, the Tom Daniel Show. Keep listening, keep learning, the Tom Daniel Show.
You're listening to The Tom Daniel Show, and I'm your host, Tom Daniel. Every now and then we encounter a piece of music that seems to have existed forever, as though it somehow rose out of the earth, fully formed or, drifted down from the rafters of time. It doesn't really belong to any single century or any one person. It just is. We inherit that song without even thinking, the way people inherit a family tale, passed through hands and hearts instead of signatures and copyrights. But music, like most people, has history. And sometimes the songs we take most for granted turn out to have traveled an incredibly unlikely road. They begin in one world and end in another. They're born for one room and then move house into a room nobody imagined for them. That is the story of the song Greensleeves, and its second life as my favorite Christmas song, What Child Is This? The most common assumption is that the tune was always sacred, always reverent, fixed forever in the candle glow of Christmas Eve. But the truth is far more human, far more interesting. Now, before it touched a manger, this melody haunted taverns, bars, pubs, flirted in crowded streets, and whispered of longing and heartbreak. And before it ever entered a hymnal, someone somewhere probably sang it while leaning against a pub door, beer in hand, staring at the winter night and thinking, why does love have to sting like this? So how does a lament become a hymn? How does a secular melody stumble into sacred ground and then take up residence there permanently? And what does the journey of Greensleeves tell us about how art travels and how time reshapes meaning? Now let's begin where all good legends begin, in the company of a king. Now, if you ask someone who wrote Greensleeves, a surprising number will give you the same confident answer. Oh, that was Henry VIII. He composed it for Anne Boleyn, before he chopped her head off. The idea fits beautifully into our romantic imagination. A tragic king, a tragic queen, a love doomed from the beginning. Of course, such a story deserves a haunting melody. It's a beautiful idea, regal, romantic, bloody. And the legend has stuck for centuries. It just feels right. It has symmetry. It's got drama. But history is not obligated to satisfy our sense of poetry. Henry VIII certainly wrote music, or at least he claimed he did, but Greensleeves almost certainly was not one of his works. And when the song first appears in print in 1580, Henry had been dead for more than 3 decades, and Boleyn a lot longer than that. And while his court did enjoy music, the particularly harmonic structure of Greensleeves, it's a harmonic pattern known as the Romanesca, did not take root in English music until after his reign. Greensleeves sits squarely on the Romanesca harmonic pattern. That's a descending loop of chords that became fashionable in England only after Henry's death. It's essentially a harmonic fingerprint, one that lets us date the tune stylistically. If Henry wrote Greensleeves, he would have been composing in a style no English musician was using yet. Now, Henry VIII certainly had a big ego as well as a big waistband, but even he wasn't quite that visionary. Now, by the way, some modern songs you might know that loosely follow the Romanesca would be Hit the Road, Jack by Ray Charles and Led Zeppelin's epic Stairway to Heaven. Both of those are loosely based on the Romanesca. So where did the rumor come from? And why do we cling to it so fervently? Well, because we like stories where kings write love songs, obviously. It reassures us that power once bowed to beauty, that even monarchs wooed and suffered, that passion could move a crown. And because, if we're honest, the truth can be messy and less glamorous. Anonymous Elizabethan street musician does not stir the imagination quite like tormented Tudor king composing at midnight. Now, sometimes myths survive, not because they're factual, but because they're just beautiful. Now, let's step away from palaces and walk down a very different street. Imagine London under Elizabeth I, still muddy-footed from the Middle Ages, but brightening with the new electricity of the Renaissance. Merchants cry their wares, horses clatter over cobblestones, and the Thames River slides past, carrying commerce, gossip, and the occasional unfortunate rumor or corpse downstream. This is where Greensleeves appears, not in marble halls, but in the pans of a ballad seller. Printed broadside sheets were sold cheap, easy to memorize, and suited to public singing. The title, in all its glorious Elizabethan wordiness, was this: A New Northern Ditty of the Lady Greensleeves. Yep, that's the title. It was a love song, but not a triumphant one. Its narrator pleaded, argued, insisted that he had done everything right, yet his lady still rejected him. It is the universal human lament. Look, I love you. Why don't you love me back? There's humor in that. There's pain in it, too, and there's a hint, just a hint, of scandal. The color green had certain connotations in Elizabethan slang, and not all of them were pure. Some scholars suggest the lady of the green sleeves may have been a courtesan or a flirt, or at least that listeners would have chuckled knowingly at the implication. Whatever the case, the tune belonged not to the solemn world of altars and incense, but to the busy human world of longing, gossip, wine, and wistful sighs. In those early years, Greensleeves was not about angels. It was about the ache of being human. Now, if a tune finds its way into Shakespeare, well, you know it's arrived. And Greensleeves does just that, twice. In Shakespeare's play The Merry Wives of Windsor, Mistress Ford exclaims, "Let the sky rain potatoes and Greensleeves." Shakespeare was not referencing a hymn. He was referencing a song everyone knew, a tune that had already infiltrated the popular imagination. The playwright's audience did not need footnotes. They knew exactly the melody he meant. So here we have a song sung in public houses, quoted by Shakespeare, printed in cheap broadsides, possibly about a courtesan, certainly about heartbreak, and whispered, likely more than once, under winter breath by someone hoping a certain someone might look their way. Not sacred, not solemn, not yet. But art has a habit of biding its time. Melodies do not always know their fortune when they're born. You're listening to The Tom Daniels Show. We'll be right back.
What are you waiting for? The Tom Daniel Show. What are you waiting for?
Welcome back to the Tom Daniels Show, and now I know why Mary Mac has been so festive this week. They took the show's theme song and turned it into a Renaissance madrigal. Of course, Mary Mac is the world's most perfect band. We've been talking about the song Greensleeves and its evolution into What Child Is This? Now, there are songs that burn brightly and vanish, tied too tightly to one moment to survive the next. And then you get songs like Greensleeves, steady, adaptable, beloved across generations without ever demanding attention. Greensleeves migrated from broadsides to songbooks, from minstrels to madrigals, from homespun hums to courtly arrangements, from lute to harp to early keyboard instruments. It slipped into collections of folk tunes and remained there, quiet, unbothered, waiting, and seemingly eternal. Centuries went by. England's religion changed and then changed again. Christmas itself transformed. It was canceled by the Puritans, resurrected by Victorians, commercialized by modernity. But the tune survived. It lingered. It circulated, and it kept on living. Now, some music persists not because it shouts, but because it endures. Now, fast forward to the 19th century. Industrial smoke hangs over England. Trains whistle through valleys. Charles Dickens is teaching the world how to see Christmas again. And in a quiet bedroom, William Chatterton Dix lies ill. He's an insurance manager by trade, not a clergyman, not a composer, not a man born for cathedral glory. But illness has a way of turning the mind toward the eternal. William Chatterton Dix finds himself captivated by the nativity scene, by its humility, its vulnerability, its strange power. So he writes a poem in a moment of deep spiritual reflection. What child is this who laid to rest on Mary's lap is sleeping? There is wonder in those lines, not triumph, not thunder, wonder. Yet here's the curious part. Dix does not write a melody. Instead, he looks backward. He chooses an old tune that he knows, one already loaded with yearning, and he set his nativity poem to Greensleeves. And something extraordinary happens. It fits. It's not forced. The melody that once carried the ache of earthly desire now carries awe before the divine. The yearning of a rejected lover becomes the solemn amazement of shepherds kneeling at a manger. The melody has not changed, only the meaning. It is as though the tune itself always knew it would one day kneel beside straw and starlight. Now, if you stop and consider it, the journey really is astonishing. A street ballad about heartbreak somehow becomes one of the most reverent Christmas hymns in the English-speaking world. Now, what does that say about culture? What does that say about us? Perhaps that melodies are more durable than our intentions. Perhaps that emotion does not know the difference between romantic longing and spiritual longing until we tell it. Perhaps that a tune can carry sadness, beauty, regret, and wonder equally well, and simply wait for someone to choose which part of its nature to emphasize. When you hear What Child Is This? In a church on Christmas Eve, that hush of breath, that tremor of strings, that solemn descent of the melody, you're hearing not only a hymn, but also a memory of Shakespeare's London, a street singer leaning into the wind, a poet sick in bed, and a melody patient enough to wait for the right century to reveal its second purpose. A song like this teaches us that art has horizons we cannot foresee. So how do we measure a melody's life? By its birthplace or by the lives it touches along the way? And if we insist on purity, on arguing that Greensleeves truly belongs to taverns or ballad sheets or Shakespearean humor, then we deny the whole story. If we insist that it's always been sacred, we erase the very humanity that prepared it for devotion. Better instead to honor the full arc of the song. Greensleeves sighs in the London winter. Greensleeves wanders across centuries. Greensleeves pauses at the edge of the manger. And then, in a moment of mysterious symmetry, it asks a question still worth asking. Why lies he in such mean estate, where ox and ass are feeding? A secular tune, redeemed not by force, but by harmony, a perfect marriage of sound and sentiment, where longing finds fulfillment and yearning finds its answer. It's not the first melody to be reborn. It will not be the last, but it may be one of the most quietly miraculous. Some songs arrive fully cloaked in holiness. Others earn their sanctity along the way, by traveling through the human heart first. Greensleeves began in longing, passed through humor and rumor, survived Puritan scorn and Victorian sentiment, and finally found its home at the edge of a cradle in winter light. And maybe that's fitting. Love, after all, often begins in desire and ends in devotion. Maybe a tune about yearning always longed secretly to kneel in worship. Maybe the ache at the center of the melody was never looking for a lover this whole time, but for a savior. Thank you, everybody. This has been the Tom Daniels Show. Keep listening. Keep learning.
Keep listening, keep learning, the Tom Daniels Show. Keep listening, keep learning, the Tom Daniels Show. Take a break from your usual routine and tune into the Tom Daniels Show. You'll discover the world of melodies and stories that you might not know. Keep listening, keep learning, the Tom Daniels Show. Keep listening, keep learning, the Tom Daniels Show. What are you waiting for? The Tom Daniels Show. What are you waiting for? The Tom Daniels Show. What are you waiting for? What are you waiting for?